WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And once you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about, here sometimes will get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise.
Welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back to the show. Well, like every week when we come here at the Grown Men Podcast, we always talk about what kind of topics we can talk about, right? Things that are going on everywhere that grown men should be talking about. And one of these topics I wanted to talk about is hunger and homelessness. And joining me, of course, remotely is my brother, Mark. Mark, it's good to have you back in the Grown Men Podcast. Glad to come in to discuss this topic because this is something that me and you can both have a strong opinion about and discuss it. And the people that are listening to the podcast as well, leave some comments about it. Mark, great to have you back in We Rise Nation and the Grown Men Podcast.
Well, it's good to be back. It's great to be back in effect. Hope everybody having a good holiday season.
Yes, that's the thing. We are at the holiday season, and this topic fits right in with that because we're just coming out of Thanksgiving. The holidays going pretty good for people. There were a lot of people getting turkeys and different things, and a lot of positive vibes with families getting together. But there's also that other side of it, Mark, and we're talking about hunger and homelessness. And here's something that I saw online, and it's a nice paragraph. Hunger and homelessness in Chicago, right here home in the city of Chicago. The situation of hunger and homelessness in Chicago is a pressing issue with an estimated 68,440 people experiencing homelessness in the city. This number reflects a significant increase from previous years, with the majority of the rise attributed to the influx of new arrivals from needs. However, the end of the pandemic era supports the loss of affordable housing, which has led to the return of homelessness among non-new arrivals to pre-pandemic levels. This crisis is marked by racial disparities, with Black and African American Chicagoans experiencing homelessness at a much higher rate than other racially ethnic groups. The city's effort to address homelessness include the Unsheltered Housing Initiative and Rapid Rehousing Program, which has shown success providing housing and out-migration pathways for new arrivals. Despite these efforts, the city faces challenges in providing adequate resources and support for those in need, as highlighted by the Chicago Help Initiative and its partners. So this statement, this release was put out by the city of Chicago. So this is actually what they're estimating. And I think in my mind, it could be more than that. What do you say, Mark?
I mean, well, it's it's basically certainly more than that. I mean, there's a lot of issues when it comes to like homelessness. Homelessness in Chicago and abroad. Because I also have numbers cited from security.org. I'm sure they need to be updated because these numbers are from survey that was done in 2024, where it says like overall in the United States of America, overall homelessness is at it says 771,000 people and counting.
Right.
When you hear homelessness, everybody always assume like the three major big cities that usually suffer from homelessness crises or crises. As you just stated, Chicago, LA is the other city, big city, New York.
Right.
And the one thing that we find is it's all kind of different issues. Like you had mentioned, affordability. That's a big issue for homelessness. I mean, the cost of housing continues to be on the rise.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the wages at your job is not always going up. You're not always getting that raise, or when you get a raise, it's like very small amount, like anything from what they would say a 2% raise, which is usually a couple nickels, or like maybe you might get lucky and get $1. The whole point is it's not enough when you continue to have the cost of living overall going up, and that's like with the cost of your groceries, health care, all of those things like that. Gas, all of it. Or like if you don't have a car, bus fare goes up, train, to take public transportation continues to go up. And you have unemployment and underemployment, going with the same thing. If you're unemployed, you really have trouble finding a job. If you have a certain kind of skill base and, that industry isn't hiring as much. Say that you were a cook, a chef. And, a lot of restaurants was closing up during the pandemic, so it made it difficulty to find work. Or if you're in a situation where it's like you got to work for less, you're just not making enough. Of course, there's health issues. There's like no substance abuse.
Right.
There's system failures as far as with the government cutting fundings and things. So like a lot of people experience that with the whole crises of the government shutdown, and you weren't able to get your link card, and things of that nature. And there's of course the personal crises and relationships. When you're going through things, and that could be tied to healthcare, mental health care in particular. If your mind ain't right. And we know that there has been a rise on mental health issues, and especially over the last 20 years, maybe more than that. And it's like that's a situation that nobody seems to really fully know how to deal with, or at the very least nobody fully put resources into. So it's a whole lot of issues. I ain't mean to just sit there and drag on, but I just thought those was important to note.
Yeah, what you just said right there is a lot to unpack and talk about in itself. And I want to put like a personal touch from you and I, which means, the way we grew up, we never experienced hunger and homelessness. So we didn't have a lot, like we didn't have a big house. We lived in an apartment or whatever the case it was. But we never experienced being hungry or being homeless. And there are a lot of people that we knew and might have known that did experience it. A lot of people that I talked to, I wouldn't have even known that they were at that time, but they told me years later that, yeah, I was house to house, or I was sleeping on an auntie's couch, or, at my cousin's house, or wherever I could. These are things that we didn't know about as the time coming up, but I know, us coming up, we never experienced hunger and homelessness. And what I always tell people is that a lot of us are living on the edge where we're just one paycheck away from being there. Literally. But see, a lot of people don't see that. The people that have it, that have a little bit of wealth or a little bit of money, they say, how can it happen? It can happen very easily because everything you mentioned beforehand, the cost of living, medicine, all these other things that add up. Sometimes people have to make the choice that they should never have to make between where am I going to live or what am I going to eat? And sometimes they have to make the choice, one or the other. And when you see people living in their cars or different situations like that, and they say how far the mighty have fallen when they see celebrities doing it or whatever the case, it can happen to anyone at any time. Be thankful for what you have, but also let's look at the aspect, of how we got here. Why people are hungry and why they are homeless, especially in this country and in the city of Chicago.
And exactly with that, based off what you just said there, and like for me, I look at it this way: is like, honestly, I think like most of us, or a good amount of us, is like basically dealing with a homeless situation, and we might just don't know it. Like
Right.
if you somebody that pays, like, you know what I'm saying, month to month, like you're paying rent, you stay in an apartment. I mean, or like, you know, you still paying a mortgage on the house.
Yep.
I mean, you pretty much just about one crisis or crises away from losing it all.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that a lot of us don't realize. I mean, not just so much as just like lose your job. Like, okay, well, you lose your job, you might get a chance to get some unemployment benefits, or you might be a chance to get like another job, or you got a side hustle, or this, that, or the other thing going on. But one of the big things that, like, you know, that don't get talked about as much, or have definitely been touched on by like people like Senator Bernie Sanders and other progressives when they was having the whole healthcare fight, is that like when you get sick, something happens and you get that cancer,
Yeah.
you get that big C,
Yeah.
or you get hurt very badly.
Yeah.
You know, you break your leg, arm, you break your neck, you become paralyzed where you cannot work.
Yep.
Then it can easily be over with just like that.
Yep.
You know, house is gone, car is gone, wife is gone.
Yeah.
You know, everything. So, I mean, those are things that we don't think about or don't think it could happen to us.
Until
But
it does.
It surely can.
Until it does, Mark.
Until it does.
You just said a whole mouthful, because all of those things should go through all of our minds, as you know, all adults, not just grown men, but grown women as well. But men, as the heads of the household, you know, we're the bearers that wear that crown. We have to feel that, because we think about it ourselves. Let's face it. These days, you can't afford to be a one income family. You have to be a 2-income family. And then, you
Absolutely.
know, what if something happens to your spouse? You know, and that spouse is no longer bringing in that half. And then, or, you know, your spouse gets sick or whatever the case may be. Then that burden comes on you as a whole. So all of those bills that you once shared that are joint bills, they now become yours. And that's when it really gets real, because you sit down and think, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be homeless. And it happens so fast, and it happens all the time.
Well, along with this country becoming a country of greed and selfishness,
Right.
it also become a country of like dependency. I mean, just to piggyback off what you just said, like, you know, if you have a spouse or like a significant other or whatever you have, a roommate or a partner. I mean, say, you know what I'm saying? Say that you just have a roommate, maybe just two buddies or whatever, y'all grew up together, then y'all decide to get a crib together. And then it's like, okay, everything's split down the middle with the bills and all that kind of stuff. Then your partner loses his job. And then it's like, it's a struggle. I mean, that's pretty much the same thing. Like, we become like dependent on like certain things to like, you know what I'm saying, work and transit go like a certain way all the time.
Right.
But the one minor disruption, I mean, and that's pretty much the big problem with the economy that we have tied along with the whole poverty and like homelessness situation, is like when you can't afford for things to go wrong. And I mean, and how can you really plan for that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, never be late, never make a mistake. I mean, that's pretty much humanly impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it to that bigger picture, which most of us don't. Let's just be honest and real about it. We don't think about it because we go about our lives how we go about our lives.
Yeah.
However you live in your life, whatever you like to do, whatever you do in your day to day and your night to night and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you don't think about when something significantly can go wrong. And so I say all that to say, most of us, like, throughout our lifetime, when you see somebody on the street, somebody homeless or hurting or struggling, I mean, it's like, oh man, they really messed their life up. And most of it is always point to drugs, and drug abuse is a very serious thing.
Yes.
But like when you have a country that's the richest nation in the world, when you have billionaires upon billionaires out there, if drugs is that bad of an issue, I mean, why couldn't we just flat out get rid of drugs? Period.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, you got to recognize the game in there. Drugs are here for a reason. Everything's here for a reason. Yeah, some say like, well, you need drugs for certain kind of medical things like that. Yeah, I get all that too. The prescription medications and stuff, which is easily, just as easily to get addicted to. I mean, as much as crack cocaine or heroin.
Yeah,
as they call it in the streets.
Absolutely.
I mean, with those type of issues and situations, that's why it's important that you do have like the government to play a role, because we all are part of this country. We are part of this nation. So we are owed those rights. You just shouldn't just sit there and poo-poo someone because they're living on the street or because they are addicted to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are we doing to get these people the proper help? What resources out there to help people, to give them a chance to do better? So instead of being quick to judge and just look down or just walk over somebody because they're laying on the street, I mean, that can easily be you walking over yourself. I mean, or somebody walking over you in the next few years or so.
Yeah.
Because once again, everything that we have is tied to some kind of routine one way or the other, and we can easily lose everything just in the blink of just at the blink of an eye.
Yeah, Mark, and what you just said is 100% correct, because for the simple fact, we don't see people in these situations until we are in those situations. And see, a lot of us, like I say, we live, up on that hill, right? We don't think about these things because our everyday life is what's going on right now. So we're not considering what could happen or what may happen. And when I look at homelessness, the hunger goes with it, but then the homelessness, that's one of those situations where, especially this time of the year when it's very cold and frigid, people not having places to go. Now, there are shelters and there are warming centers that provide temporary relief, but we need permanent housing. And a lot of people are saying, well, there's some people who just don't want to be housed. And that's an issue as well, Mark, that I would like to talk about, because there are some people, unfortunately, who just don't want to be housed. They don't want to be held down, whether it's because they have mental issues or they've been living this way for so long that it's comfortable for them and they don't know any other way. So how do we address?
Let's get into it.
How do we address these situations? How would you go about it?
I mean, as far as somebody that don't want to be housed, I was into it. I was going to ask you, why would you think that they don't want to be housed? Because, I know, when someone is locked up for a significant amount of their life, somebody that goes in and out of prison, they call it becoming institutionalized. And I guess in a way that's the same thing. It's because you have people that do I guess what you can say live on the fly, or they be in the wind and moving from place to place. I mean,
transients. They're called transients for the most part. Transients, because they go from place to place.
You go transient,
and that's fine if you're living.
They lack stability,
and that's fine if you're living in California. Right? You can live right by the beaches or anywhere out there. You're not going to get frozen to death like you will in the city of Chicago if you're laying on the ground. When I go to work every day,
yes. To that point, yes. But I mean, let's keep in mind too, California. I mean, I never lived out there or been out there. I want to visit though someday. But I would imagine they have things like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, heat waves or whatever, periods of that sort of thing happening. So I mean, that's still like some kind of hindrance as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Or like certain kind of storms that does occur.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying from a perspective of when we looking at the logistics, you're more likely to die from being frozen than, you know, just really getting overheated, because it's not like California, in particular in Los Angeles. If you're there and homeless, they don't have the big heat waves. They get them every now and then, but it's like it's a more comfortable place to live than it would be here in the wintertime, trying to survive laying on a concrete ground. Because I see it when I'm going to work, these guys laying down. Fortunately, this week I haven't seen any of that. So the guys have,
and I mean, we hope.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I mean, and see, because I don't want to, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, speak too much on like comparison, because I never been out to California, so I don't know what all entails or what all they have to deal with out there.
No, I'm not.
Like from our perspective,
I'm not downplaying those issues of what they have in California, because trust me, they have a lot of issues. I see a lot of things, a lot of stories I read about, you know, California as a whole. But I'm saying the one problem that they don't have, yes, we know they have the mudslides and earthquakes and all that, but one thing they don't have is that brutal cold weather. Like we just had this cold snap. They don't have that. So,
no, not at all.
You know, I'm not trying to compare the two.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm not trying to compare the two to say that one is like worse than the other. I'm just saying that as far as surviving a weather situation, you know.
And don't get me wrong. I wasn't trying to, like, you know, challenge you either and stuff. It's just that, like, you know what I'm saying, I was just feeling like, for me, because I don't know what all happens out there. Basically, like, you know what I'm saying, from what I might see on the news, like when they have those, what do they call them? When they have like the fire things happen. I can't think of the name of it.
The wildfires.
Yes, the wildfires.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm speaking. Exactly. I speak on the wildfires. You know, the wildfires and the mudslides and all these things. I understand that. I'm just from this standpoint about being outside in the cold weather.
Right now,
we know this because we experience it. So I mean, like you said, we haven't been to California. I don't know all of California's issues with the homeless. I'm quite sure there are people out there who experience their trials and tribulations as well. I just know that laying on a concrete ground with below zero temperatures, you're not going to survive that.
But I will push back and say this too, because I believe that you and I, well, like I said, I can speak personally for myself. I've known like a lot of people who I have seen like growing up in Chicago and have known to be either a, like, you know what I'm saying, homeless person, or like, you know what I'm saying, hooked on some kind of drugs, you know, crack or whatever the case is, that like surprisingly, you know what I'm saying, still around, walking around today. So they found ways to survive. So I mean, I say that to say that people that's even out here, even during these storms and, you know, snowstorms and these sub-zero conditions and stuff, find ways to survive, whether they, you know what I'm saying, jump from like shelter to shelter or whatever the case, or, you know, sleeping on the buses or the trains or somewhere where they find warmth. A lot of people have found a way to survive. I mean, either way, it's not an ideal situation. And not to go too far off track from the whole topic in the hand, the whole bottom line is, like, I mean, you know, being homeless is nowhere to be at all. And suppose that, to go back to your question, is like, you know, how people would, like, you know, to, like, you know, live like that, where it's like they kind of want to be. I think that probably be a small percentage. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm quite sure you guys can go, like, look up those numbers. Like I stated earlier, security.org, that's a good site to check out. Chicago.gov, that's another one. Like, if you're local around the Chicagoland area, just to, like, you know what I'm saying, check in, like, you know what I'm saying, see these numbers. But like most people get used to like, not being in a situation, especially if you're in a situation where, because some people will be led to believe that I have more freedom or I have more control over myself.
Well,
if I'm not under somebody's rule or under somebody's dictation, if you will.
That's just what I was going to say, Mark. I was just going to inject that in there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was my train of thought. That's where I was going, is that I have talked with people before and I have asked them why they live like this. And some of them have said because they don't like rules. They don't like to live under other people's rules. They would rather live outside than live under someone else's rules. So my question to you would be, how could you convince someone that you have to do some things you might not want to do to get to the long-term place you want to go?
And I would sit there and push back and simply say, like, I mean, when you have a person that's saying like they don't want to live under somebody else's rules and conditions and this, that, and the other, I guess it would be like, what did they exactly experience? Because that sounds like somebody that have like really experienced some kind of abusive type of situation, and that's another detail of it too. When you go into like sexual abuse, when you like, forced to do things against your will, or like, domestic abuse.
I just think,
violence or things like that, or because
I just think
I'm just saying get put in that mindset.
That can be part of it, Mark. But I just from when I talk to these people. These particular guys I talk to, some people, man, just want to do what they want to do. I mean, they want to be able to do whatever they feel like doing whenever they feel like doing it. And they don't want anybody telling them that they can't do it. And a lot of these shelters, they allow the guys to come in there and they give them, room, and they give them something to eat, and they, try to get them to get to a place in life where they can, live independent. But a lot of guys, they don't want to do it. And I've talked to guys who said,
they just people like that. When you got people like that, though, can't do nothing but just let them be free.
But I know that's what I'm saying. But it's one of those things, though. It adds. See, that's what I'm saying about this, right? Both hunger and homelessness. There are a lot of different reasons, but they all add into these statistics. It's just like anything, right? Where people just group people together and say, oh, all these people are homeless because of this reason or that reason or the other reasons. There are a lot of reasons why people are homeless. My thing is, how do we get to a point, or can we ever, not only in this city, not only in this country, but in the world, can we ever get to a point where homelessness is no longer a thing that we have to talk about? And I know where you're gonna go. You're gonna say that's never gonna happen. But tell me from your perspective, how do you think we could achieve something like that?
Well, I can say this, as far as like overall in the world, I can sit there and say that's never gonna happen. And for these like simple reasons, that because we don't live all over the world, we just live in the United States of America. Like every country, other countries have their own different like agendas and stuff. There's many countries under like, dictation, dictator rule.
Right.
It's really nothing you can really do. In a way we can, but we not. Like as far as this country, that's like going to a whole total world war or be on some kind of thing like on Superman 4 when we have somebody take away all those nukes from everybody. And I don't think no man from Krypton is coming down here anytime soon. I wish that would be the case, but I don't see that happening, at least not in my lifetime.
Yeah, I agree.
Who knows what the future will hold, but I will say this, as far as in this country, you can absolutely wipe out homelessness. If we was really serious about doing it, again, it goes back to like what we always say, everything is political. What do you want to talk about politics? No, everything is political. We could do that, but like on both sides, since people like to say, oh, well, both sides. Well, this is a true issue where it's a problem with both sides, because like I just don't believe like the current leadership, whether it's the D or the R or the like, few speckles of I and other kind of political parties, libertarians and so on, or whatever the case. But basically like, our political leadership as a whole, the establishment, if you will, have no interest in that. But I mean, there's ways to like, get more better people that's more like in line with prioritizing humanity. And that's the whole thing. Like if you prioritize humanity, if you become in community, and that's the thing. Like a lot of us are not in community. And what I mean by community, I'm not just talking about the neighborhood that you live in, or your people that you see or whatever, know the few people that you might talk to. But to be in community is like to be involved with everybody and what's going on, and come together to come, to come solve problems and issues and solutions and stuff. Whether you, friends with that person or not, that's what it takes being in community with one another, and having the core senses. I mean, having the basic understanding that we are all human beings, and we need certain things that we need. So if you was to get the right type of political leadership, lawmakers, because they do work for us, and put them in position and push for certain kind of issues, like even here, in the Chicagoland area, in the state of Illinois, if you push more leaderships to do things about homelessness, and that's like get more resources, first off. I mean, you got to get the resources out there. You got to get more shelters and things like that. I mean, I was before we was talking about this whole topic, I was telling you how I was seeing, there's a number of, homeless shelters that's available. Everybody can go online and Google that if you want to. I'm not going to read down the list, but I would bet, just from my own personal experience from working with City Year, about 20 years ago, and there's a couple times we did little projects going to homeless shelters. I would bet that they are lacking lots of resources that should be able to, that they should be able to get, resources for things. Because if you think about it, what do we spend your money on? What do we spend our money on? What did the government spend our money on? I mean, where you could have money to give away to different countries. I mean, just to be given away, because I'm not talking about the whole the Middle East crisis, or the whole Russia crisis and all that kind of stuff. But you have a man sitting in the White House that just gave away about $40 million to Argentina because that's his friend.
Exactly.
I mean, stuff like that. That's very disheartening. And you think about other things that we do when you do government subsidies that goes to billionaires. You give money to people who already got money, because they come up with this idea we're going to create these jobs and programs and stuff, and then a lot of times that stuff don't pan out. Elon Musk made lots of money. He's a trillionaire today, or about to be a trillionaire today, because of all the money, all the free money.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead, put parentheses on that, the free money that he got from the United States government, not the South African government.
Well,
this immigrant. Not the South African government, but the United States government. So it's when we got money to give away for things like that, and we don't invest in people, we lose the care for humanity. Once you start prioritizing humanity, then you can start seeing some real changes.
Absolutely. Amen to that, because everything you said, you laid it out. And, I just want to add to that. A lot of times you look at the politicians don't worry about homeless people because they don't vote. That's what they see in their eyes. They see that homeless people don't vote.
That's another point.
So they don't matter. They don't matter at all. And then when you think about the shelters, like you were just touching on, let's be realistic. People don't want to talk about it. A lot of people don't like to hear it. But let's face facts. A lot of people don't want homeless shelters in their neighborhoods. They simply don't want it. They didn't like the homeless encampments, and they wouldn't like the shelters either. And the reason for that is when one or two homeless people commit a crime, like the man that set the lady on fire and that whole deal with that. When things of that nature happens where homeless people do that, because as I said, I was on a train the other day and there was a guy flicking the lighter and smiling, and he's trying to be a copycat of the guy who just burnt that lady. So my point is that I see these things every day when I'm riding the train, and I'm seeing these people who all they do is ride the train all day. They make the real homeless people look bad. Because yeah, they may be homeless, but they're out there doing things that they shouldn't not be doing.
I agree with you, and then that goes to the whole situation where it's like, well, somebody should be doing something about that individual person to, like, help that person out, because that's the same way when they sit there, like, what I'm saying, accuse like every black person of the crime of one black person did something. Oh well, I guess they all must be like that.
Exactly.
And I mean, but and that goes back to the whole, like, what I'm saying, lack of resources to, like, what I'm saying, well, you should be able to get someone like that off the train.
Exactly.
Like, most of us just sit there and, like, we see that and we like, okay, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. Or you might get the guy like you had a couple years ago in New York when he sit there and choked the man to death.
Right.
And get off. I mean, I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend that either, but it should be like, maybe a social worker that if you had, like, what I'm saying, like, social workers out there, like, almost as the way, like, police be out there that's like, a station or position at train platforms or things like that can, like, okay, go up there and approach a professional that can approach somebody like that and talk to them and see if they can convince them. Then, like, if that don't work, then okay, we have to physically, like, remove him, because you don't want him to be a danger to, like, other people, other passengers on the train or bus or anything like that. Those are like incidental anecdotal incidents. But you can't sit there and, like, paint everybody like that, and that's the bigger problem. What we always tend to do.
Well, in the
when we
media,
see somebody on the street, we just, that's a crackhead.
Well,
forget him, forget her.
Well,
what I'm saying?
The media always exacerbates isolated incidents as something that is a problem in a whole when it's not the case. But that's what we see. So when people see that on the news, right, and they're not looking at a bunch of statistics, they're not looking at anything other than what's in front of them. Homeless man sets woman on fire. Then that tells other people, well, I don't want these type of people in my community. I don't want these type of people in my neighborhood. It's no different than when they say a sex offender. They don't want them in the neighborhood. They don't want them around. And it's like, these people have to live somewhere. It's the same with the homeless. They have to live somewhere. And everybody might not be happy about them living in their neighborhoods or their communities, but you have to put like you said before, your big boy and big girl pants on and suck it up. Look, people need housing. They need to stay somewhere. We might not all be crazy about it, myself included. I might not be crazy about someone who has issues living in my community. However, they have to live somewhere.
I mean, well, that's the whole thing. Going back to what I was saying earlier, like the problems where we stand today in this country, in this nation, which I do believe is changing, is that, like, I mean, it's too much selfishness, it's too much greed. And when you have the leadership, people that say, like, top powerful leadership roles pushing that ideas to, like, blame somebody else, blame, pointing fingers at the, like, immigrants, pointing fingers at gay people, at trans people, at colored people, and all this. I mean, it's always pointing fingers. Oh, they the reason. And it's like, we have to learn how to have humanity for people. You have to be empathetic. Like, that don't mean that you have to sit there and, like, let me give, like, everybody a chance, if you're not built to do that type of work, don't do that type of work. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, you just can't just look down on people. I mean, because you don't know their condition and know their situation. Like, what I'm saying? 9 out of 10 people we might come across that's living on the street probably was a crackhead, but that one person wasn't.
Right.
It's like, and then, when you sit there and say, oh, he a crackhead, okay, well, why is he a crackhead? Why do we have those type of drugs? Why didn't we have access and availability for those type of drugs on the street? Same way with the gun situation. like you talked about like a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, when you was talking about that on the Grown Man podcast about like how easy it is to get for anybody to get a gun.
Yeah, it's
to
easy.
Get firearms.
It's easier to get a gun than it is to get food.
From as young as 6 years old.
Yeah, it's easier to get a gun than it is to get food to eat. That's the thing that kills me. They'd rather have you with a loaded gun than to have you with food in your belly.
Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's real talk, and that's the same situation right there. I mean, so when you write somebody off to just be a crackhead, why do we got crack in this country? You know, I mean, how come we can get, you know what I'm saying, crack cocaine in this country, but we gotta go to Brazil for our coffee beans.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Things like that, like, you know, when it don't make sense and stuff, like, we do have the power to do something about it as a people. When we come together as a people, as a community, as a nation, and push for, like, common sense things. Like, you know, it goes, I mean, you can't take away anybody's humanity. I don't care how dirty they is. You know what I'm saying? How nasty they look. They ain't have a bath in 6 weeks. I mean, that's still a human being at the end of the day. And if the good Lord Almighty do come back, if Jesus do come back and resurrect, I mean, he's going to be walking with the people that's out there in the street, because they the ones that's going to need him the most.
Well, that's the thing that people don't tend to understand, is that
they don't want to understand.
They always claim to be so-called Christians and Catholics and all these people that are so religious and beyond approach, right? Well, Jesus went in to the dens. He went into the grimiest of grimy places and walked with the people and pulled those people up out of there who wanted to be better but just didn't have the guidance. And he showed them the way. We don't reciprocate that in Jesus' teachings. We don't follow in that, because that's what we should be doing. Instead of, like you said previously, pointing a finger at them and saying, you're poor or you're homeless, this is your fault, nobody else's. They don't know about the hardships that a person has went through in their life, but they're judging them strictly based on how they look to them. Not knowing in their mind that you can be next. It's real easy. Your one medical debt, one loss of job, one loss of spouse from being homeless. Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, exactly.
I mean, it's
no, go ahead.
No, it's asinine to me, and it gets to me when I see people doing these things every day, and you see them, whether they be in real life or on television, always trying to blame people for their own predicaments. Some people did the best they could, and yet this is where they are. And like you said before, these trillionaires and billionaires continuing to get subsidies, continuing to suck up money from the federal government, taking it from hard working people every day. And instead of helping homeless people, no, you want to lock them up and throw away the key. That's your answer.
Well, that's the thing about it. Like, when are we as a whole, is going to recognize game? When we're going to recognize the game? You had mentioned the church, and that's very interesting, because I check out a podcast like every now and then called I Had It podcast. It's with the two older white women, wine moms, they call them, whatever. But they be talking about some real stuff, because they're both from Oklahoma, which is a big Bible belt community and state, all that kind of stuff. They believe in Jesus, all that, and they have like the mega churches and all this and that going on out there. But they speak on a lot of how, like, you know what I'm saying, people get so caught into their so-called, like, you know, religious beliefs, and they giving all this money, like they give their last dollar to their churches and these mega churches in particular. I'm not going to sit there and say all of them, because I don't know all of them like that, but a lot of these mega churches, be like the biggest grifters in the world. And that's why, like,
I've said that. I said that point, Mark. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm gonna let you finish your point.
You did.
I've said this point before here on the Grown Men Podcast about mega churches. They should pay taxes. It's the biggest grift of all time. I'm not talking about small churches. I'm talking about these mega churches. These are the ones.
And it's important to reiterate that.
Yeah.
We should say it as many times as possible.
Joel Epstein is a billionaire, right? Osteen is a billionaire. How did he get to be a billionaire? Explain that. He has this big mega church and he makes all this money. So you mean to tell me people need to keep giving tithes? Poor people that have nothing need to continue to give to a mega church in order for a mega church to exist. I don't believe it. It's foolishness.
It'd be all a big grift.
And nonsense.
It'd be all a big grift. And that's the most shameful thing. I mean, because you still have that going on today where they always want to throw up Jesus and God. And to me, that's truly using the Lord's name in vain. You know, I mean, and no disrespect for like any kind of religious people out there that's listening or whatever, but I would encourage you to like really, really read your Bible and pay attention to what the words are saying up in there, because when you can justify the things that's going on, and like we're talking about with homelessness, I mean, you can sit there and just like write that off as like, okay, well, those people deserve it, or they put themselves in that situation, this and that. And even if you do have the few people that put themselves in the situation, aren't you obligated as a true Christian, as a true person of faith, to try to help them out of that situation? And again, like, I mean, you know, I'm not sitting there trying to say enable anybody or whatever, or, you know, but at least try. And these people don't want to try. And like you were saying, like, oh, these people don't know how it is about the struggles. Yeah, I believe some of them know. I just think that they don't care, or they want to find reasons to justify it and to be against something to make themselves feel better. So when you have these, like, you know what I'm saying, so-called Christians out there, and they sit there and vote the way they do, and they move the way they move, how they move in life, I mean, it's all telling right there. It's like, you know, it's pretty much like the Bible they used to have back in the, like, you know, 1800s, when they had human trafficking going on, as we know as slavery, shadow slavery.
Exactly.
I mean, because, you know, slaves weren't considered human beings at all, so that's why they justified it's the necessary evil and all that kind of stuff. Right. Sitting there stripping somebody of their humanity, as we continue to do today. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm going to keep on hitting back on that, like, humanity. You got to have humanity in your heart. You got to see people for being people. And it's like, you know, to call somebody just a slave or think that everybody can't slavery. No, those were people that was like human trafficking. Those was human beings. And they talk back in that Bible and stuff. They're like, yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, it was good to be a slave, and the slave owner was the closest thing to God. Like, the slave owner was your God. Yeah. So your job, if you were a slave, is to, like, what your master says. And then when you die, you will be rewarded and you will get to go to heaven. Yeah. All right. I mean, you know, and that's, and all that sounds insane, but those people believe that back then.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just like people believe the insane garbage that's going on right now today.
Yeah.
Until it happens to them.
Yeah, until it happens to them, because they don't know it until they've been there, right? And it's one of those things, once again, it's one of those trading places type of deals where you put the people on the street and then you put the people that's on the street into the big mansions and homes, and let's see how they move around. Once again, it does not have to do with upbringing and breeding and all that garbage that people like to talk about. It simply has to do with people being put in situations that are not of their own making. Most of the time, that is the case with hunger and homelessness. Both of these issues, because you can't tell me that people choose to not eat. I'm just going to not eat, right? Or I'm just going to live outside. Yes, we know people have a lot of issues, but at the end of the day, people that have, it's like Red Fox said on Sanford and Son, if the haves give the have-nots, just a little bit, then those have-nots will be the have-somethings. Because that's where we need to be. Nobody is telling nobody to go broke, right? But share a little bit of your wealth. It wouldn't hurt you to do so.
It goes all back to that greed, though, once again. It goes all back to that. When we had the big major pandemic and stuff, like, who was the only people making money? I mean, the business owners and stuff, they made a lot of money. They made hand over fist, those big stock movers, those type of guys, those types. And they made lots of money.
And then the government helped them out by giving them an influx of cash. They got bailed out. While the little guys like us down here in the middle class and working our way to try to do something in life got hit the hardest. What did they tell you? Oh, go get unemployment or whatever the case may be, while these companies got over like fat cats and they don't have to pay nothing back.
And that's the thing, and they will sit there and tell you that these people are job creators.
I get tired of
all that, and y'all just mad because y'all broke and y'all hating and this and that, and you need to get up and work and stop playing the video game and this and that and everything else that they always sit there and say. But it's like, once again, how much is too much? We done had this conversation plenty of times before too. How much money do you really need? I mean, I'm in the mindset with a lot of other people and stuff that, like, I don't believe that we should have a billionaire. There shouldn't be no billionaires in this world, to be honest. I mean, because why do you need $1 billion?
Yeah.
I mean, $999 million isn't enough.
Well,
$50 million isn't enough. $12 million. I can go on and on.
Well,
the fact is that we promote greed in this nation.
Well, they just made an example out of, I forgot who it was. It's the basketball player that said $100 million just ain't enough. And he's getting clowned online for saying that. He's really getting clowned.
I'm mad about that.
Yeah.
Man, I can't think about that name, but that's another topic we got to talk about, man, with these guys out here.
Yeah. $100 million is not enough for you to live off of. That is a joke to me. I told somebody before, I said, hey, you give me $1 million right now, that's enough for me to live the rest of my life with. And yet these guys...
can be, and it should be.
And these guys...
And that's the thing, we created a whole situation where it's like, oh, no, you got to have more, And it's like, what are you getting that money for exactly? The most people that sit there and get that money is doing it for the flex, is doing it for the clout. You don't need 4 or 5 houses.
Exactly.
You don't need 4 or 5 cars.
Exactly.
It's like, come on, man. That's that, you know what it is.
Yeah. It's one of these situations, Mark, that it's going to continue to be a hot topic here on the Grown Men Podcast because other things are going to come up about this situation of hunger and homelessness, not only in Chicago, not only in the United States of America, but across the world. This is a topic that we continue to talk about, whether it be the Grown Men Podcast or other podcasts that I've listened to as well. This crisis is not going to go away anytime soon unless people get off their butts and start actually committing to helping to make people's lives better by giving them that hand that they need. Don't turn your hand away, reach your hand down and help them up. So, I don't know.
I mean, well, at the very least, just to close it out, is just to, like, at least have some other consideration. Just, before you, disregard somebody as like worthless or you're better than them because you're not in that situation. Because as we stated before, we keep saying, you can easily slip into that situation. You just pretty much a damn health crisis away or a bad accident. Let's have humanity in mind.
Right.
And that's all I'm pretty much saying. You got to have humanity for people, for individuals. I'm not sitting there saying go out and pass out a dollar bill to every single homeless person you come across, but there are other things that you could do with your money. Like, put the work in, do some research online and see how you could maybe possibly donate to a homeless shelter or maybe help start some kind of program to help people. You might not help, 1 million people all at once, but one by one you could. And just have a little bit more consideration instead of just writing people off so so easily.
Well, what I want to close with, Mark, is we see it happen all the time around the holiday season, right? They're giving away turkeys and everyone has free meals and everything under the sun.
That's always nice once and twice a year.
Let's extend that. Let's not just make it around the holiday season. Let's make it a year-round thing and see if it makes a difference in people's lives. If they know that they don't have to go to bed hungry and they know that they have a roof over their head. Those are human rights. It's human dignity. Give people the respect that they deserve. Homeless people, hungry people need to be seen because, for the simple fact, people don't like to look at it. But we must look at it because it's an issue that affects us all. And you never know when it might affect you personally.
100%, absolutely.
Well, folks, it appears our time is up this week. I'm glad you checked us out. Head on over to WeRiseNation.com. Got a lot of things happening over there. The website is being retooled. A lot of different things are coming. Music from the past, some things, some different features that we're going to try to add to the website. And it might be something that might interest you. Mark, it was glad that you came in, the Grown Men Podcast. Of course, you always contribute, whether in front on the microphone or behind the scenes with different ideas and topics that we like to talk about. So it was good that you came in remotely, of course, to join us on the Grown Men Podcast.
Well, it's always a pleasure to lend a voice out here and to be a community and try to encourage more people to be thought leaders, throughout this nation and throughout the world, if possible.
Well, folks, we're glad that you came in and tuned in and listened to us. And I'm quite sure between now and next week, we'll have more things to talk about. As I said before, head on over to WeRiseNation.com. See what we got going on over there. But until next week, for my brother, the Mark, I am your host, BAN. And I will talk to you soon.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud.